"You'll never own a house like your brother," my parents said. Then I paid $5.2 million cash before he could. The gravel crunches under my tires as I turn onto the long driveway. And immediately, my chest tightens. I know this feeling. I've known it my whole life. The oak trees form a tunnel overhead, their branches filtering the afternoon sun into scattered coins of light across my windshield. And with each rotation of my wheels, I feel myself shrinking. By the time I reach the circular drive and park behind my father's Range Rover, I've already put on the mask. The one that smiles on cue. The one that doesn't flinch. 6 months. That's how long I've avoided this place, and standing here now I can see nothing has changed. The stone facade looks exactly as it always has. Imposing, meticulous, cold. My mother's boxwoods are trimmed into perfect spheres. The brass door knocker gleams. Everything about this house screams control, order, a place where emotions are filed away like tax documents. I check my reflection in the rearview mirror one last time. Hair smooth, lipstick unchipped, armor intact. The front door swings open before I can knock, and my mother appears, already turning away. "You're here," she says, not quite a greeting, more like checking off a box. "Come help me with the table settings. Your father's finishing up in the kitchen." No hug, no real eye contact, just tasks. I follow her through the foyer, where family photographs line the walls in expensive frames. My brother Ethan dominates most of them. Ethan at his MBA graduation, Ethan shaking hands with some senator, Ethan accepting an award I never bothered to learn the name of. There's one photo of me, tucked near the coat closet. High school graduation. I'm 17, smiling like I believed in something back then. The dining room table is already mostly set, the good china reflecting overhead lighting like small moons. My mother fusses with the silverware, adjusting fork angles by millimeters. "These need to be perfectly aligned," she says, more to herself than to me. "Ethan's bringing someone important tonight, a potential investor." Of course he is. Ethan always brings someone important. I place water glasses at each setting, my hands moving automatically. Through the kitchen doorway, I can see my father bent over the stove, his reading glasses fogged from steam. He's wearing the apron Ethan gave him 3 Christmases ago, the one that says Grill Master in cursive font. "Smells good, Dad," I call out, even though I can already tell from the dryness in the air that he's overcooked whatever's in that oven. He glances up briefly. "You're here. Good. Can you grab the serving platters from the top shelf? Your mother can't reach them." Not "how are you?" Not "we missed you." Just another task to complete. The front door opens with a flourish, and Ethan's voice fills every corner of the house. "Family, your favorite son has arrived." He's laughing as he says it, but we all know he's not joking. He strides into the dining room wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. His cologne arriving 3 seconds before he does. Behind him trails a nervous-looking man in his 50s carrying a bottle of wine that's definitely been selected to impress. My mother lights up like someone flipped a switch. "Ethan! Oh, you look wonderful." She actually hugs him, both arms, the kind of embrace I can't remember ever receiving. My father emerges from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel, grinning. "That's my boy. Ethan, good to see you, son." They shake hands in that overly firm way men do when they're performing masculinity. Ethan finally acknowledges me with a nod. "Hey, sis, still doing your little online thing?" My little online thing. 5 years of 16-hour days reduced to 4 dismissive words. Still at it, I say, keeping my voice light. We settle around the table, positions as predictable as a stage play we've performed 100 times. Dad at the head, Mom to his right, Ethan across from her in the spotlight position, me at the far end, facing the wall where a landscape painting hangs slightly crooked. No one's ever bothered to straighten it. Dad carves the roast with ceremonial precision, giving Ethan the best slices. So, Ethan, tell us about this new venture. Your mother mentioned you're closing something big. Ethan leans back, completely in his element. Well, as you know, I've been analyzing the residential real estate market, specifically the luxury sector, and I found something perfect. He pauses for effect, making sure we're all watching. There's a property on Seaview Lane, just listed, $5.2 million. My mother actually gasps. $5 million. It's worth every penny, Ethan continues, warming to his audience. Modern architecture, floor-to-ceiling windows, infinity pool, 3-car garage. The master suite alone is bigger than most people's entire homes. He laughs, and my parents laugh with him, like size and excess are punchlines only they understand. That sounds incredible, Dad says, pride saturating every syllable. When are you making an offer? Viewing it this week. Should have paperwork signed by Friday. Ethan cuts into his meat, chewing thoughtfully. It's the kind of place that announces you've arrived, you know? Every detail screams success. My mother reaches over and squeezes his hand. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. You've worked so hard. The words land on me like stones. Worked so hard. As if I haven't. As if the last 5 years of my life have been some extended hobby project, a way to pass time between brunch dates and yoga classes. What about you, honey? Mom asks, glancing in my direction like she's just remembered I'm here. How's your little shop doing? Still making those candles? Not candles. I've never made candles. But correcting her would require her to actually listen. Actually, I've been looking at real estate too, I say, the words coming out before I've fully decided to speak them. The table goes silent. Then Ethan laughs, a sharp bark of amusement. You? Real estate? He looks at our parents, eyebrows raised. That's cute. I mean it, I say, keeping my voice steady. I've been house hunting. Dad sets down his fork, his expression shifting to something between concern and condescension. Sweetheart, owning property is a serious investment. It requires capital, credit history, financial stability. Your little website is nice, but it's not exactly a mortgage-worthy income. My little website, my little shop, my little online thing. Ethan's still grinning. Sis, I love your optimism, but maybe focus on what's realistic. There's no shame in renting. Most people your age can't afford property. I'm 1 year younger than you, I say quietly. Sure, but I've been building equity, establishing myself. You've been playing entrepreneur. He says it kindly, which somehow makes it worse. It's different. My mother jumps in, her tone soothing in the way it gets, when she wants to smooth over uncomfortable truth. What your brother means is that we just want you to be practical, dear. Setting achievable goals is important. You don't want to disappoint yourself. I nod slowly, mechanically spearing a piece of overcooked beef with my fork. The conversation moves on without me, flowing back to Ethan's house, Ethan's career, Ethan's future. I let it wash over me, cataloging each dismissal like evidence for a trial that hasn't happened yet. But something has shifted. Something small and sharp has lodged itself behind my ribs. That house on Seaview Lane. 5.2 million. Every detail screams success. I want it. Not because I need it. Not because I've been searching for that specific property. I want it because they've decided it belongs to him. Because they've decided I could never earn it, never deserve it. That house has become a symbol in the span of one dinner conversation. And I suddenly understand with perfect clarity that I need to make it mine. I smile and nod through dessert, compliment my mother's store-bought pie, hug them goodbye with the appropriate amount of warmth. Ethan walks me to my car, his hand briefly on my shoulder. "Don't take it personally," he says. "We're just being realistic. You know we want the best for you." "I know," I lie. The drive home takes 40 minutes, and I spend every one of them running calculations in my head. Plans forming like crystal structures in solution. By the time I pull into my parking garage, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I don't even make it to my apartment before I'm calling Jonah. He answers on the second ring. "Please tell me you're calling with good news and not another family dinner horror story." Both, actually. I lean against my car, staring at the concrete wall. "Remember that COO position I offered you last year? The one you said you'd think about? I took it. I've been your COO for 11 months. "Right. Good. I need you to do something for me." I take a breath. "Find a property on Seaview Lane. 5.2 million. Modern build. Just listed. I need every detail by tomorrow morning." Silence. Then, "Is this about your brother?" "It's about me," I say. And I realize as I say it that it's true. For once, this is entirely about me. I can hear him typing in the background. "I'll have a full report by 8 a.m. This is going to be good, isn't it?" It's going to be perfect. That night, I can't sleep, so I do what I always do when my brain won't shut off. I work. My studio apartment doubles as my office, a converted loft space that I've lived in since the beginning. One corner holds my bed, barely visible behind a Japanese screen. The rest is all business. Inventory shelves, a shipping station, my desk command center where everything happens. I pull up my financials on 3 different screens and stare at numbers that would make my father's head spin. Revenue, profit margins, cash reserves. I built this piece by piece, transaction by transaction. And somewhere along the way, it became real. Not a hobby, not a little shop. A business that generates the kind of income most people only imagine. I remember the early days with the kind of sharp clarity that significant pain leaves behind. I was 23, working 2 jobs while building inventory in my spare time. I'd buy wholesale supplies with credit cards, design pieces at midnight, photograph them at dawn, list them before my morning shift. For 18 months, I slept an average of 4 hours a night. My friends stopped inviting me out. My boyfriend left because I was obsessed. My family called it a phase. Then came the supplier disaster. I'd saved $53,000, every spare penny from 3 years of relentless work. A supplier I'd been working with for months, someone I trusted, offered me a bulk deal on imported materials that would have doubled my inventory at half the cost. I wired him everything. He disappeared the next day. I cried for approximately 4 hours. Then I got back to work. I took on a 3rd job, moved into a smaller apartment, ate ramen for 8 months straight. I rebuilt from zero, but this time I was smarter. I verified every supplier, diversified my sources, built relationships slowly, and I never, ever told my family what had happened, because their pity would have been worse than their dismissal. 3 years ago, I hit my first million in annual revenue. Last year, 35 million. This year, we're projected to break 60. My family still asks about my candles. I stay up until 4 a.m., running scenarios and reviewing accounts. The house is more than affordable. I could write a check tomorrow and barely notice the dent. That realization sits heavy in my chest. Not pride exactly, but something close to vindication. I earned this. Every dollar came from decisions I made, risks I calculated, work I completed. No trust fund, no investor handouts, no family connections. Just me being underestimated. When dawn breaks over the city, I'm still at my desk, watching numbers that tell a story my family refuses to read. My phone buzzes at 8 a.m. exactly. Jonah, always punctual. "Tell me everything," I say instead of hello. Seaview Lane property. Listed 3 days ago. 5.2 million, just like you said. 3,000 square feet. Built last year. Architect is someone named Chen. Apparently, he's a rising star in modern residential design. The listing agent is Maria Torres. She's top tier, handles most of the luxury properties in the area. He pauses. "Your brother's already scheduled a viewing for this Thursday. Has he made an offer?" "Not yet. He's still arranging financing. Looks like he's going through traditional mortgage channels, which means applications, approval processes, probably 2 weeks minimum before he can put anything official on paper. 2 weeks. I could move faster than that in my sleep. Set up a meeting with Maria Torres. Today, if possible. And Jonah?" I allow myself a small smile. "We're going to need an LLC. Something clean, separate from the main business. No obvious connection to my name." "Are you about to do what I think you're about to do?" "I'm about to buy a house." I lean back in my chair, feeling the weight of the decision settle over me like armor. All cash, no contingencies, no waiting. Jonah laughs, the sound rich with approval. I'll have everything ready by noon. This is either brilliant or insane. "It's both," I say. "The best decisions usually are." We spend the next 2 days moving at lightning speed. Jonah pulls together the LLC paperwork within hours, naming it something generic and unremarkable. We meet with Maria Torres in her sleek downtown office, where she eyes us with the kind of polite skepticism reserved for people who might be wasting her time. "The Seaview property is generating significant interest," she says, fingers steepled on her glass desk. "I've already scheduled multiple viewings. The sellers are expecting competitive offers." "I'd like to view it this afternoon," I tell her. "And I'd like to make an offer by tomorrow morning." Her eyebrows rise slightly. That's quite fast. Most buyers need time to arrange financing, conduct inspections. "All cash," Jonah interrupts smoothly. "No financing contingency. No inspection contingency. 7-day close." Now we have her full attention. She leans forward, reassessing us entirely. "May I ask if you have proof of funds?" I slide a bank statement across her desk, numbers visible, unmistakable. Her expression doesn't change, but I see the slight widening of her eyes, the way she glances up at me with new understanding. "I can show you the property at 4 p.m. today," she says. And there's a different quality to her voice now. Respect. The house is everything Ethan described and more. Maria leads us through spaces filled with afternoon light, rooms that flow into each other with a kind of effortless grace that only comes from exceptional design. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame views of the city below. The kitchen is all clean lines and expensive appliances. The master suite occupies the entire second floor, opening onto a private balcony where you could watch the sun set over the skyline. I can picture Ethan here, giving tours to friends, hosting parties where everyone admires his taste and success. I can see it so clearly, it almost feels like I'm trespassing in his future. Except I'm going to make it mine. The sellers are motivated, Mariah says as we finish the tour. They've already relocated for work. They want a clean, fast transaction. They'll have it, I say. Have the paperwork ready by tomorrow morning. $5.2 million, all cash. No contingencies. 7-day close. Jonah and I spend that evening with my attorney, reviewing contracts and preparing the offer. We structure everything through the LLC, keeping my name buried in layers of corporate paperwork. Not to hide exactly, but to control the narrative. When the time comes for revelation, I want it to be on my terms. Maria calls the next day at 10 a.m. I'm in a meeting with my product design team, reviewing samples for the fall collection. When my phone lights up, I excuse myself and step into the hallway. They accepted, Maria says, and I can hear the smile in her voice. Congratulations, you just bought a house. For a moment I just stand there, phone pressed to my ear, the magnitude of what I've done crashing over me like a wave. $5.2 million, the house Ethan wanted, the symbol my family reserved for him, mine now, legally, officially, undeniably mine. Thank you, Maria. Let's move forward with closing. I'll have the title company reach out today. See you at the closing table. I walk back into the meeting where my team is debating throw pillow dimensions, and for the rest of the day, I move through my tasks with a secret burning bright behind my ribs. That evening, Jonah and I celebrate with expensive whiskey in my office, toasting to risks and victories and the sweet satisfaction of proving people wrong without them even knowing it yet. So what happens when your family finds out? Jonah asks, swirling his glass. That's the best part, I say, the plan crystallizing with perfect clarity. They're going to find out at exactly the right moment, in exactly the right way. Over the next 3 weeks, I barely sleep. The house closes escrow in record time, and the moment the keys are in my hand, I start transforming it. Interior designers descend like a professional army, bringing samples and swatches and renderings. Every decision is deliberate. Every choice is mine. I fill the spaces with pieces from my own collection, products I designed that have been featured in magazines and celebrity homes. The living room showcases a series of vases that sold out in 48 hours last spring. The dining room displays handcrafted bowls that have a 6-month waiting list. Every room becomes both a home and a subtle exhibition of exactly what my little shop has created. You're making a statement, Jonah observes one afternoon, watching movers position a custom credenza in the entryway. I'm telling the truth, I correct him. There's a difference. The idea comes to me a week before the house is ready. I'm standing in the completed living room, sunlight streaming through those massive windows. And I imagine my family walking through these spaces. I imagine them admiring the finishes, commenting on the view, cataloging the expensive details. I imagine them not knowing. And then I imagine them finding out. Jonah, I say slowly, what if we threw a party? He looks up from his tablet. What kind of party? A housewarming. Invite everyone who matters in the city. Designers, business owners, investors, everyone who's ever underestimated what I've built. I turn to face him. And my family. But they don't know it's my house until I tell them. Jonah's face breaks into a wide grin. You want to ambush them. I want to give them the truth at the exact moment they're ready to see it, I say. Every other conversation I've had with them has been on their terms, in their house, under their rules. This time, it's my space, my revelation, my timeline. We spend the next week planning every detail. The invitations go out on heavy cream cardstock, elegant and mysterious. You're invited to celebrate a new home on Seaview Lane. No host name, just a date, time, and address. The kind of invitation that people in our social circles don't refuse because they're too curious about whose home it might be. My mother calls me 3 days after the invitations mail. Celeste, darling, did you receive an invitation to a party on Seaview Lane? I keep my voice carefully neutral. I did. Are you going? Of course. We assume it's connected to Ethan's professional network. He thinks it might be that tech entrepreneur who just relocated from San Francisco. Should be a wonderful networking opportunity. Sounds like it, I say. And the irony tastes sweet on my tongue. The night of the party arrives with perfect weather, clear skies, and warm air that carries the scent of jasmine from the landscaping. I stand in my bedroom, the master suite that occupies the entire second floor, and examine my reflection with the kind of critical eye I used to reserve for product photography. The black dress cost more than my first month's rent in that studio apartment. My hair is perfect. My makeup is understated, but flawless. This time, the armor isn't for protection. It's for war. Downstairs, caterers move efficiently through the kitchen, preparing elaborate appetizers on my handcrafted serving platters. A bartender sets up a station near the windows. Soft music drifts through speakers hidden in the ceiling. Everything is ready. Everything is perfect. Guests begin arriving at 7. I watch from the second-floor balcony as cars pull up, as people emerge in designer clothes carrying bottles of expensive wine. They enter my home with expressions of awe and curiosity, immediately beginning the social calculus of trying to determine whose house this could possibly be. I move downstairs and blend into the crowd, just another guest. People assume I'm a friend of the mysterious host. I let them assume. I circulate with a glass of wine I barely touch, listening to fragments of conversation. The architecture is stunning. Must have cost a fortune. Do you know who owns this place? Jonah appears at my elbow, impeccable in a tailored suit. They're here, he murmurs. Just pulled up. My heart kicks against my ribs. Through the front windows, I can see my father's Range Rover. Can see him stepping out, then my mother, then Ethan. They're dressed for impact, every detail calculated to impress. Ethan's wearing a navy suit I recognize from a magazine ad. My mother's jewelry catches the light. They enter through the front door, and I watch from across the room as their faces cycle through confusion and admiration. My mother actually touches the wall, her fingers trailing along the smooth finish. My father nods approvingly at the crown molding. Ethan scans the space with the assessing gaze of someone pricing everything he sees. Whose house is this? I hear my mother ask a nearby guest. No idea. The invitations didn't say. Someone with excellent taste, clearly. I give them 20 minutes to circulate, to accept champagne from servers, to admire my carefully curated spaces. I watch Ethan pause in front of a credenza displaying one of my vase collections. He examines them closely, and I see him reach for his phone, probably to look up the designer. I watch my mother compliment the throw pillows to another guest, not recognizing them as pieces from my summer collection. I watch my father shake hands with a venture capitalist I've been in talks with for months, neither of them acknowledging they've met before at my office. The cognitive dissonance is almost beautiful. Finally, when the crowd has reached critical mass and the chatter fills every corner of my home, I make my way to the floating staircase. Each step feels weighted with years of silent dismissal. Every time I swallowed anger and smiled through their condescension. Jonah sees me moving, and I catch his eye. He nods once, then taps his glass with a fork. The crystal chime cuts through conversation like a bell. Heads turn, voices fade. I reach the top of the staircase and stop, elevated above the crowd, backlit by the floor-to-ceiling windows. The setting sun behind me casts me in silhouette for a moment before my eyes adjust and I can see them all clearly. 50-plus faces looking up. Friends, colleagues, competitors, strangers. And in the center, like actors positioned on stage, my family. Thank you all for coming, I say, and my voice carries in the sudden silence. It's stronger than I expected, steadier. I know the invitations were mysterious. I appreciate you taking a chance on the unknown. Polite laughter. My father shifts his weight, glancing around as if trying to solve a puzzle. Most of you know me professionally, I continue. Some of you have worked with me, bought from me, competed against me. But some of you, I let my gaze land directly on my parents, on Ethan, have never really known me at all. My mother's face creases with confusion. Ethan's eyes narrow. For years, I've been told I run a cute little hobby, a shop, an online thing that's nice but not serious. And I let you believe that, because it was easier than fighting for recognition I shouldn't have had to demand in the first place. The room is so quiet, I can hear someone's champagne glass clink against their ring. But the truth is, the business you've dismissed has generated $60 million in revenue over the past 5 years. The cute candles you've never asked about employ 47 people. The little website has been featured in every major design publication in North America. I can see the realization dawning on faces throughout the crowd, the way recognition spreads like fire catching. My father's expression has gone blank. My mother's hand is pressed to her mouth. And this house, I extend my hand to encompass the space around me. The one my brother wanted. The one you all assumed belonged to someone worthy of $5.2 million of real estate. This house is mine. I bought it 3 weeks ago, all cash, no mortgage, no help. The silence stretches for exactly 3 seconds. Then someone starts clapping, and the sound builds like a wave, spreading through the room until most of the guests are applauding. But I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at my family. My father's face has drained of color. My mother looks like she's trying to solve an equation that doesn't add up. And Ethan looks like someone just reached into his chest and rearranged his internal organs. Welcome to my home, I say simply, and descend the staircase. The aftermath unfolds like a slow-motion collision. Guests swarm toward me, offering congratulations, asking about my business, requesting introductions to my team. I'm swept into conversations about expansion opportunities, collaboration possibilities, the kind of professional dialogue my family never offered. The party continues around me, but I barely register it. too focused on the expressions I keep catching in my peripheral vision. My father standing rigid by the bar, gripping his whiskey glass like it's the only solid thing in the room. My mother circulating with her social smile locked in place, but her eyes keep finding me, disbelief and something else flickering across her face. And Ethan, isolated near the windows, staring out at the view that was supposed to be his. An hour passes before he approaches me. I'm talking to a gallery owner about a potential exhibition when I feel him at my elbow. I excuse myself and turn to face my brother. $5.2 million, he says, and his voice is quiet, missing its usual swagger. All cash. Yes. How? The question comes out raw, stripped of performance. When did you? He can't seem to finish a sentence. I built a business, I say simply. The same business you've been calling a hobby for 5 years. The same business you never once asked about. I didn't know. You never wanted to know. The words aren't angry, just factual. Knowing would have required seeing me as someone other than your little sister playing store. He flinches, and I watch him struggle with something that looks like it might be shame. I would have helped. If I'd known you were serious, I could have. I didn't need your help, I interrupt. That's the point. I never needed your help or Dad's connections or Mom's approval. I needed you to acknowledge that I was capable of succeeding without you. You couldn't even give me that. My parents join us then, my father's face red, my mother's eyes suspiciously bright. Dad opens his mouth, closes it, then opens it again. You should have told us. Why? I ask. So you could explain how I was doing it wrong, offer unsolicited advice, take credit for teaching me determination or some other revisionist history. That's not fair, my mother says, but her voice wavers. Isn't it? I look at each of them in turn. Name one time, one single time, in the last 5 years that you asked about my business with genuine interest. One time you inquired about my revenue, my growth strategy, my challenges. One time you treated it like something real. The silence is answer enough. We thought, Dad starts, then stops. You never said. I shouldn't have had to, I say. And this time there is anger in my voice, controlled but present. You're my family. You were supposed to see me. I don't wait for their response. I turn and walk back into my party, leaving them standing together in a small, shocked cluster. The revelation ripples outward over the following days. My phone explodes with messages, some genuine, some transparently opportunistic. People I haven't heard from in years suddenly want to grab coffee, discuss opportunities, pick my brain about business strategy. The local business journal runs a profile. A regional magazine requests an interview. Vendors who previously took days to return my calls now respond within hours. Ethan's professional facade, meanwhile, develops cracks that widen into fissures. I don't go looking for information, but Jonah has his ear to the ground, and reports arrive like weather bulletins. The Kensington acquisition that Ethan had been so confident about falls through spectacularly. Whispers surface about his firm's overextension, about investments that looked solid on paper but crumbled under scrutiny. He's in trouble, Jonah tells me one morning, setting a coffee on my desk. Real trouble. Word is he convinced your parents to co-sign on some high-risk investments. They're exposed. I take the coffee without responding, staring at my computer screen where spreadsheets tell the story of my own success. I should feel satisfied. I should feel vindicated. Instead, I feel nothing, like I've spent all my anger and what's left is just exhaustion. 3 weeks after the party, my mother calls. I let it go to voicemail. She calls again. I silence my phone. On the third day, she leaves a message that Jonah makes me listen to. Celeste, please. We need to talk. It's about Ethan. We need your help. I delete it without finishing. Jonah watches me from across my office. You could hear them out. Why? Closure, maybe. Or just to see what they'll say. I consider this for a long moment. Then, surprising myself, I agree. Fine. But they come here. Sunday, 5 p.m. That Sunday, I position myself in my living room, deliberately choosing the single armchair that faces the sofa. When the doorbell rings, I don't rush to answer. I let them wait. They enter like prisoners approaching sentencing. My father's shoulders are hunched in a way I've never seen. My mother's makeup can't quite conceal the circles under her eyes. Ethan trails behind them, and he looks worse than both of them combined. His suit rumpled, his hair uncombed, his eyes avoiding mine entirely. Sit, I say, gesturing to the sofa. They sit. The silence stretches. Thank you for seeing us, my mother finally says. I don't respond, just wait. Dad clears his throat. We made mistakes. With Ethan's business advice, with our investments. He pauses, the words clearly difficult. We're in trouble financially. How much trouble? Most of our retirement, Mom says quietly. We co-signed on Ethan's acquisitions. When they failed... Modern Hearth, I interrupt, and all three of them flinch. You invested in Modern Hearth. We didn't know, Ethan says, his first words since arriving. His voice is hoarse. I swear we didn't know it was your competitor. I would never have. You invested in a company specifically designed to crush businesses like mine, I say, each word precise. You didn't know it was my company because you never knew what my company was. You never asked. You never cared enough to ask. That's not fair, Dad protests, but it's weak. You came here for money, I state it flatly, not a question. A loan, Mom says quickly, just until we can... No. The word lands like a door slamming. They stare at me. You want to know what's not fair? I stand, looking down at them from the slight elevation. Not fair is working 16-hour days while you call it a phase. Not fair is losing everything to a crooked vendor and rebuilding from zero without telling you, because your pity would have been worse than your dismissal. Not fair is watching you celebrate every one of Ethan's minor accomplishments, while never once acknowledging that I built something real. We made mistakes, Dad says again. You made choices, I correct. You chose to see Ethan as successful and me as a hobby. You chose to invest in his judgment instead of asking about mine. You chose to dismiss me every single time I walked into your house. Those weren't mistakes. They were decisions. I walk to the front door and open it, holding it wide. This is my house, my success, my life that I built without you. You don't get to walk back into it now that it's convenient. My mother stands, tears streaming down her face. Please, Celeste, we're family. Family sees each other, I say quietly. You never saw me. They leave slowly, my mother sobbing, my father's face carved from stone, Ethan moving like a ghost. I close the door behind them and lean against it, waiting to feel something, triumph or guilt or satisfaction. Instead, I just feel empty, like I've been carrying a weight so long I don't know how to stand without it. Jonah arrives an hour later, letting himself in with the key I gave him. He finds me sitting in the darkening living room, lights off, watching the city glow below. "You okay?" he asks. "I don't know yet," I admit. He sits on the arm of my chair, and we watch the sunset together in silence. 3 months pass like water over stone, each day reshaping the landscape of my life so gradually I almost don't notice until I look back and see how far I've come. The perennial house continues its trajectory, growth compounding on growth. We launch an expanded sustainable collection that sells out in 72 hours. A venture capital firm approaches about acquisition, and I turn them down without hesitation. This empire is mine, and I'm not selling control to anyone. My office has moved to a larger space downtown, proper corporate headquarters with a view of the skyline that rivals my home. I hire a head of operations, a marketing director, a CFO. 47 employees becomes 63, then 81. The little shop has become an infrastructure that generates wealth while I sleep. But the most significant change isn't in the numbers. It's in the space that's opened up inside me, air where anxiety used to live. My phone still rings occasionally with my mother's number. I've stopped silencing it and started just letting it ring, present but unanswered. Sometimes I see news about Ethan's firm, consolidating, downsizing, pivoting. The language of failure dressed in corporate euphemisms. I feel a distant sort of sympathy, the way you might feel bad for a stranger having a rough day. But I don't call, I don't reach out, I don't offer rescue. On a Tuesday afternoon in late autumn, I stand in my living room with Jonah, reviewing fabric swatches for next season's collection. Afternoon light pours through the floor-to-ceiling windows, turning the space golden and warm. A cashmere throw is draped over the sofa, books are stacked on the coffee table, fresh flowers bloom in one of my vases. The house has stopped being a statement and become simply home. The sustainable line exceeded projections by 23%, Jonah says, not looking up from his tablet. We're getting requests from retailers we couldn't have touched a year ago. Nordstrom wants an exclusive collection. I run my fingers over a sage green linen sample, testing its weight and texture. Tell them maybe. I don't want to overextend. Wise, he agrees, making a note. My phone buzzes on the table. My mother's name appears on the screen. Jonah glances at it, then at me, eyebrows raised in silent question. I consider it for a moment. 3 months ago, I would have felt my heart rate spike, would have felt anger or hurt or the complicated knot of both. Now I just feel tired, not interested. I silence the call and turn the phone face down. The new manufacturer is working out well, I say, picking up our conversation like the interruption never happened. Quality is consistent, timeline is reliable. Jonah studies me for a moment, something like pride flickering across his face. Then he nods and continues with his report. Second location is still on track for spring opening. Boston or Chicago. We need to decide by next month. We work through the afternoon, decisions flowing naturally, problems addressed and solved. When Jonah's phone rings with an emergency from the warehouse, I wave him toward the balcony and continue sorting through samples alone. The light shifts as the sun moves lower, and I pause in my work to just stand and observe. This room, this house, this life. I built it, not to prove anything to anyone anymore, but because I could, because I wanted it, because I deserved it. My phone lights up again, but this time it's a message from a friend confirming dinner plans. Then another notification. The industry publication announcing we've been shortlisted for an innovation award. Then Jonah returning from his call, grinning about a production breakthrough. My life is full of people who see me, who respect my work, who ask questions and listen to answers, who treat my success as obvious rather than surprising. I don't need my family's approval anymore. I don't even want their approval anymore. What I wanted was to be seen, and I am, by people who matter, by people I've chosen. That evening, after Jonah leaves, I pour a glass of wine and stand at my windows watching the city light up against the darkening sky. In the reflection, I can see myself. Not the armor I used to wear, not the shield I held against their dismissal. Just me, successful, strong, alone by choice rather than circumstance. My phone buzzes one more time. My mother's name. Her third call today. I pick it up, and for a long moment, I just hold it, feeling its weight. Then, deliberately, I swipe away the notification without listening to the voicemail. I pour my wine and move to the sofa, pulling the cashmere throw over my legs. On the coffee table, my tablet displays our latest sales figures, an upward trajectory that looks like ambition made visible. I allow myself a smile, not bitter, not triumphant, just satisfied. The house is quiet around me. My house, my achievement, my peace. And for the first time in my life, their silence doesn't hurt. It just is.